Hello, guys. So, today we are back again with another audio, this time not a video. And I have decided to do another story reading video, audio rather. And I also thought of covering some songs, but I think I'll do it later on since I cannot really decide on which song to do best, which will suit my voice best, and which will come out, come up as the best one. So that's why I postponed it for the later. And since books are near me now, I decided to do another story reading video, audio rather. So let's read on. This is a book I got as a gift, and again, I won't tell the name of the story or the name of the novella. This is a story, a short story. I won't tell the name of the story, and you have to guess it and write down in the comments below if you want to interact, and if not, then just enjoy the audio. I'll do my best to explain it better and do as much, read as much well as I can. So let's dive in without further ado. 81st Street, let 81st Street, let him out, please, yelled the shepherd in blue. A flock of citizen sheep scrambled out, and another flock scrambled aboard. Ding ding! The cattle cars of the Manhattan Elevated rattled away, and John Perkins drifted down the stairway of the station with the released flock. John walked slowly towards his flat. Slowly, because in the lexicon of his daily life there was no such words as perhaps. There are no surprises awaiting a man who has been married 2 years and lives in a flat. As he walked, John Perkins prophesied to himself with gloomy and downtrodden cynicism the foregone conclusions of the monotonous day. Katie would meet him at the door with a kiss, flavored with cold cream and butterscotch. He would remove his coat, sit upon a macadamized lounge, and read in the evening paper of Russians and Japs slaughtered by the deadly linotype. For dinner, there would be pot roast, a salad flavored with dressing warranted not to be crack or injure the leather, stewed rhubarb, and the bottle of strawberry marmalade blushing at the certificate of chemical purity on its label. After dinner, Katie would show him the new patch in her crazy quilt that the iceman had cut for her off the end of his four-in hand. At 7:30, they would spread newspapers over the furniture to catch the pieces of plastering that fell when the fat man in the flat overhead began to take his physical culture exercises. Exactly at 8, Hickey Mooney of the Vaudeville team, unbooked, in the flat across the hall, would yield to the gentle influence of the delirium instruments and begin to overturn chairs under the delusions that Hammerstein was pursuing them with a $500 a week contract. Then the gent at the window across the air shaft would get out his flute. The nightly gas leak would steal forth to frolic in the highways. The dumb waiter would slip off its trolley. The janitor would drive Mrs. Zanowitzki's 5 children once more across the Yalu. The lady with the champagne shoes and Skye Terrier would trip downstairs and paste her thirsty name over her bell and letterbox, and the evening routine of the Frogmore flats would be underway. John Perkins knew these things would happen, and he knew that at a quarter past 8 he would summon his nerve and reach for his hat, and that his wife would deliver this speech in a querulous tone. Now, where are you going? I'd like to know, John Perkins. Thought I'd drop up at the McCloskeys, he would answer, and play a game or two of pool with the fellows. Of late, such had been John Perkins's habit. At 10 or 11, he would return. Sometimes Katy would be asleep, sometimes waiting up, ready to melt in the cubicle of our eyrie, a little more gold plating from the wrought steel chains of matrimony. For these things Cupid will have to answer when he stands at the bar of justice with his victims from the Frogmore flat. So, here let me explain a bit. Uh, in our story that we find, the protagonist, our protagonist's name is John, as we find it, John Perkins. He's a very simple man living in a flat with his wife, and he walked slowly towards his flat. It's like the way of writing in a simple mannerism, and in a the author's uh, tone of a simple man walking into his house where he has his wife who greets him, and the daily life that goes on every day, that is not so special, yet when it's written in a isolated manner seems to many as special, as happens to all of us, that as things happen to us every day, we tend to oversee them and forget about them and realize how unique each people's lives are. So that is what is brought out in this writing, I guess. So John Perkins walks into his flat while noticing the neighborhood, whatever happens in the neighborhood, and whatever he describes, or rather things in his mind, that what he does every day. And so let's read on. Now, where are you going? I'd like to know, John Perkins. Okay, this is. And his wife would also be asking where you're going in a querulous tone about when he tried to go out or do something. So this mostly, like till now that we have read, mostly the normal life, the simple life of a simple man living in a simple way is given in. So now let's read on. Maybe we'll find what special in this day is, or what makes the story that we're about to find out the plot. Tonight, John Perkins encountered a tremendous upheaval of the commonplace when he reached his door. No, Katy was there, with her affectionate, confessionate kiss. The three rooms seemed in portentous disorder. All about lay her things in a confusion: shoes in the middle of the floor, curling tongs, hair bows, kimonos, powder box jumbled together on a dresser, and chairs. This was not Kitty's way. With a sinking heart, John saw a comb with a curling cloud of her brown hair among its teeth. Some unusual hurry and perturbation must have possessed her, for she always carefully placed these combings in the little blue vase on the mantel, to some day formed into the coveted feminine rat. Hanging conspicuously to the gas jet by a string was a folded paper. John seized it. It was a note from his wife running thus. Let's read. Dear John, I just had a telegram saying Mother is very sick. I'm going to take the 4:30 train. Brother Sam is going to meet me at the depot there. There is a cold mutton in the ice box. I hope it isn't her Quincy again. Pay the milkman 50 cents. She had it bad last spring. Don't forget to write the company about the gas meter. And your good socks are in the top drawer. I will write tomorrow. So here we find, I'm doing a little bit of explaining. So here we find that the plot now starts, the plot of the story, which is going to be different from the other days. Till now we have read what he monotonously does every day. So today it's something is different. He doesn't receive a kiss from his wife Katie when he opens the door, and he finds that everything is misplaced. No, I mean, not in a uh, like disheveled way, but in a worried way. Like she himself has done it, but she herself has done it, but in a different way. So, yeah, that is what we find, and then we find that there is a note which is written in her handwriting, that is Katie's handwriting, John's wife, and she has directed him to pay the milkman and do all the course that she could not do because she's gone now to her mother because her mother is sick. And hastily she signed her name Katie, and she even said to him that she will write to her husband tomorrow when she has reached and taken care of her mother. Of yeah. So let's read on. Never during their 2 years of matrimony had he and Katie been separated for a night. John read the note over and over in a dumbfounded way. Here was a break in the routine that he had never varied, and it left him dazed. There, on the back of a chair, hung pathetically empty and formless the red wrapper with black dots that she always wore while getting the meals. Her weekday clothes had been tossed here and there in her haste. A little paper bag of her favorite butterscotch lay with its string yet unwound. A daily paper sprawled on the floor, gaping rectangularly when a railroad timetable had been clipped from it. Everything in the room spoke of a loss, of an essence gone, of a soul and life departed. John Perkins stood among the dead remains with a queer feeling of desolation in his heart. He began to set the room tidy as well as he could. When he touched her clothes, a thrill of something like terror went through him. He had never thought what existence would be without Katy. She had become so thoroughly annealed into his life that she was like the air he breathed, necessary but scarcely noticed. Now, without warning, she was gone, vanished, as completely absent as if she had never existed. Of course, it would be only for a few days, or at most a week or two, but it seemed to him as if the very hand of death had pointed a finger at his secure and uneventful home. John dragged the cold mutton from the icebox, made coffee, and sat down to a lonely meal face to face with the strawberry marmalade's shameless certificate of purity. Bright among withdrawn blessings, now appeared to him the ghosts of pot roasts and the salad with tan polished dressings. His home was dismantled. A quinzied mother in law had knocked his lares and peanuts sky high. After his solitary meal, John sat at a front window. He did not care to smoke. Outside the city wrote to him to come join in its dance of folly and pleasure. The night was his. He might go forth unquestioned and thrum the strings of jollity as free as any gay bachelor there. He might carouse and wander and have his fling until dawn if he liked. And there would be no wrathful Katy waiting for him, bearing the chalice that held the dregs of his joy. He might play pool at McCloskey's with his roistering friends until Aurora dimmed the electric bulbs, if he chose. The hymeneal strings that had curbed him always when the Frogmore flats had pulled upon him were loosened. Katy was gone. John Perkins was not accustomed to analyzing his emotions, but as he sat in his Katy bereft 10 into 12 parlor, he hit unerringly upon the keynote of his discomfort. He knew now that Katy was necessary to his happiness. His feeling for her, lulled into unconsciousness by the dull round of domesticity that had been sharply stirred by the loss of her presence. Has it not been dimmed into us by proverb and sermon and fable that we never prize the music till the sweet voiced bird has flown o'er in other, no less florid and true utterances? I'm a double dyed dub, mused John Perkins. The way I have been treating Katy, of every night playing pool and bumming with the boys instead of staying home with her. The poor girl here all alone, with nothing to amuse her, and me acting that way. John Perkins gave the worst kind of a shine. I'm going to make it up for the little girl. I'll take her out and let her see some amusement. I'll cut out the McCloskey's gang right from this minute. Yes, there was the city roaring outside for John Perkins to come dance in the train of Momus, and at McCloskey's the boys were knocking the balls idly into the pockets against the hour or for the nightly game. But no primrose way, nor clicking cue could woo the remorseful soul of Perkins the bereft. The thing that was his, lightly held and half scorned, that has been taken away from him, and he wanted it. Backward to a certain man named Adam, whom the cherubim bounced off the orchard, could Perkins, the remorseful, trace his descent. Near the right hand of John Perkins stood a chair. On the back of it stood Katy's blue shirtwaist. It still retained something of our contour. Midway of the sleeves were fine, individual wrinkles made by the movements of our arms in the working for his comfort and pleasure. A delicate but impelling odor of bluebells came from it. John took it and looked long and soberly at the unresponsive grenadine. Katy had never been unresponsive. Tears. Yes, tears came into John Perkins's eyes. Tears. Yes, tears came into John Perkins's eyes. When she came back, things would be different. He would make up for all his neglect. What was life without her? The door opened. Katy walked in, carrying a little hand satchel. John stared at her stupidly. My, I'm glad to get back, said Katy. Ma wasn't sick to amount to anything. Sam was at the depot and said she just had a little spell and got all night soon after they telegraphed. So I took the next train back. I'm just dying for a cup of coffee. Nobody heard the click and rattle of the cogwheels as the third floor front of the Frogmore Flats buzzed its machinery back into the order of things. A band slipped, a spring was touched, the gear was adjusted, and the wheels revolved in their old orbit. John Perkins looked at the clock. It was 8:15. He reached for his hat and walked to the door. Now, where are you going? I'd like to know, John Perkins, asked Katy in a querulous tone. Thought I'd drop up to McCloskey's, said John, and play a game or two of pool with the fellows. So here we end our story, a short story. So what we find that when Katy was gone, even though she had written a little bit of note saying that she had gone to her mother's because she found out that she was really sick, he was like dismayed. He was like dying. He was like in a utter gloominess, engulfed in a darkness, hurled into the deepest abyss of eternity. He actually felt like that because within their 2 years of marriage, he and Katy had not been parted ever. So he was like, was turning over in his sorrows. And then he made so many promises to himself that when Katy returns after this sojourn, then he will never go to the McCloskeys and play with the boys like he used to and keep her waiting at her home and neglect her as he felt now. uh, did not pay much attention to her because he liked more to go and mix up with the boys, talk to the neighbors, and do other stuffs. He promised to himself so many things that he would stay at home and pay more attention to Katy, spend more time at home, doing more things together, spend quality time together. Then he found her jacket lying in the on the chair, and he thought of her, how she always devoted herself into pleasing him, into making him happy, and never thought about herself, and how she was so selfless and so good, and he felt so sad about the parting. And then, after a few minutes, we find that Katy just returned because her mother was not actually sick, and she was just gone for a few hours, and she saw her mother and gave her some medicine, and a person named Sam was also there to take care of the things. And so she took the first train back home and returned to her beloved John. And what did John pay her in return? She decided to go to the McCloskeys again and play some pool game or ball game with the boys. So that's that. Very simple, yet very uh, beautifully written. A simple life of a simple man or a simple couple living together, and how the man, how most people, most husbands, um, you know, see their wives like they actually love them, but do not actually show the care to show the care. So that is what is beautifully, not all, here it is written. I don't know about all. So that is what is written here beautifully. And with this, we end our piece. This is my first time reading the book, this story, even. And because I always do that, I pick out random stories. This is also a random one I just picked out, and I kind of read it for the first time to capture my true and real emotions. And there's nothing to review here, because this is another classic, as I can hint, and classics cannot be reviewed. So all I did was some little bit of explaining and expressing my viewpoint about the matters here, if I could properly, I don't know. So yeah, that's that. Do let me know down in the comments what should I do to improve things in a better way. Today I added some music even, and I could add some video. The video of me talking, I don't know how good is that. In the previous video, I added a video of myself, reading the story. Then I found that really irrelevant, and I didn't remove it. I just kept it somewhere else. So do let me know in the comments what is best for that. I'm trying to add some video if possible, but I don't know how I'm going to do that. And if I'm also trying to do some cover, karaoke singing, or some cover of some song, or some review of some OTT drama or serial that have just launched. Although I don't have any OTT subscriptions now presently to do any reviews, so I'll postpone it again for the later. There are many that dropped. So yeah, that's all for today. I think the video is quite long. Yeah, so I should sign off. Bye.